My name is Jeff Herman from Herman Law, and this is Kadian Noble. A few housekeeping things. First, I'm going to talk about the lawsuit today first, kind of break it down, unpack it, and then Kadian's going to talk about how she met Harvey and what happened with Harvey. So I filed this case using federal sex trafficking laws. You know, and I know when people think about sex trafficking, they think of the movie Taken. You know, not thinking that a producer of the movie could be the person who's violating this law. And the fact is that Congress has expanded our federal sex trafficking laws to apply, we believe, to exactly this situation and what happened with Kadian. So, Kadian, let me start. Kadian's 31 years old. Kadian, could you tell us, please, how you first met Harvey Weinstein?
Move to the middle.
Yeah. Let's just slide over. Okay.
I first met Harvey Weinstein at his BAFTAs after party at the Rosewood Hotel in London in February 2014. I was invited by a friend, and whilst I was there, Harvey Weinstein approached me and he asked me, "Do you know who I am?" Of course I knew who he was, but it was more in a empowerment way in which he asked me. And he asked me a little bit about myself, and he said, "I have something in mind for you, and it'll be good for you." He insisted that he wanted to introduce me to his assistant, Charlotte. He kept repeating, "It'll be good for you, it'll be good for you, trust me, it'll be good for you." And he led me around the room very eagerly, insisting that he wanted me to meet Charlotte. At this point, I was like extremely excited. Because I'm thinking, oh my God, like, this is Harvey Weinstein, and you know, he has approached me and wanting to know more about me. We eventually found Charlotte, and he introduced me as an actress, and he instructed Charlotte to take my information. So she took my information, and at this point, I am absolutely overwhelmed because he repeated so many times, "It's going to be good for you. I have something in mind for you. We're going to be in touch." And he was with people in which I admired dearly. He was with Naomi Campbell. He had Oprah Winfrey there with him, who entered the room and was swinging off his arm and just seemed like a very dear friend. And these, like Oprah, Naomi, Rita, and Georgina, they all sat at his table. And for me, you know, meeting Oprah was like, oh my God, like I would have thought that I would have to be someone who's established, who everyone would have had to know about before I was privileged enough to meet someone like Oprah. So that gave me so much confidence in him at the time when he approached me. I thought, obviously this man has something amazing in store for me.
Okay. So following your first meeting, what happened?
After meeting him, I then visited his London office where I spoke with his executive assistant, Vanessa Ford, who asked me quite a bit about my life, my background, and took notes and asked me to provide a show reel and a brief letter which she'll forward to Harvey, and he'll take a look at this. She also told me that when Harvey selects his girls, he'll have something in mind for them, or he might put them in a movie immediately. So I sent Vanessa a letter with a few images and my show reel, which she said she'd forward to Harvey Weinstein.
Okay, so go on. So then what happened next?
So this Yeah, so then I went to Cannes in May 2014. And whilst I was there, Harvey Weinstein approached me in the Majestics, in the lobby. I was really, really happy when he approached me. And I asked him, had he received my showreel? I had my iPad with me at the time. And he said to me he had not received, he hadn't received it, or he hadn't had chance to look at it as yet. So he said to me, if I have it with me, which I did on my iPad, he says I should come up to his room and he will have a look at it. But he asked me to walk a few paces behind him for press reasons, which I didn't think anything of, because I thought, okay, fair enough. So I followed him. I followed him a few steps behind, but we got in the lift together. And we got to his hotel room, and he was on his phone the whole time whilst we were walking upstairs. And we got in the lift, and he was still on his phone. Once we entered his room, and he asked me to have a seat on the sofa, which I did. And he was on his phone for a while, and then he made me speak with someone. I don't know who it was. And they said that, I must listen to Harvey, just be a good girl for him. Of course, at this point still, I feel stupid now. I still didn't think anything. I was like, okay, I'm here. With Harvey, who for me, I've seen as a legend of Hollywood, and he could make anything possible. So then after he got off the phone, he then joined me on the sofa, where I had my iPad in my hand, and he didn't seem that interested in my showreel, but I still had my showreel playing, but he didn't seem that interested. And he was touching my shoulder and slightly caressing me, but I thought maybe I was overthinking the situation. Maybe I'm just thinking too much. And he repeated over and over again, oh, you remind me of Naomi so much. And because I met him with her, I took that as a massive compliment, and he then instructed me that he works with Tess Management, which is in London, which is a model and acting agency, and he would get me signed with them. And, everything is going to be taken care of. We have all the information we need. And he then asked me to walk up and down the room, which I did, and he was repeating to me, I need to know that you really like me. And at this point, it became a little bit confusing, but still, I had a lot of hope. But I said, what do you mean? And he was like, I just need to know you really like me. Everything's going to be okay. We have all the information we need. And he also mentioned a guy, I cannot remember his name, but this was apparently his assistant. But at this point, he mentioned this guy, and he said to me, he has all the details. He's going to take care of everything in London. But I became a bit confused because I thought I had not met this guy in which he's talking about. I've only met Charlotte and Vanessa. So then he was stroking me, holding onto my shoulder, massaging my shoulder. He took grip of me, and more it was quite forceful in the sense of telling me to relax. And I think then I started to get a little bit confused, because it didn't feel like it was about what he initially on why he initially met me. It felt more personal. It just felt like it was just about me and not about my career. Although he kept reassuring me, telling me that everything's going to be taken care of and I need to relax, and he needs to know that I really like him. He gripped me and he led me to the bathroom, And I was saying, what are you doing to Harvey? And he was like, relax, relax, everything's going to be taken care of. It's really embarrassing now because it's just like, I don't know, what was I thinking at the time? And he took hold of me and pretty much forced me to walk with him to the bathroom, where he stood me in front of the mirror and he stood behind me, and I was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, and he's like touching me, rubbing me, and he's like, just relax. And I'm telling him to stop, and he would raise his voice, but at the same time he kept reassuring me that everything's going to be okay. And he was rubbing my breast, and like he placed his leg between mine from behind and was rubbing against my vagina, and he pulled my, because I had a dress on at the time, and he pulled it down, exposing my breast, and oh, it feels so stupid. And he was like just caressing my breast and just like had grip of me, and he took one hand, then was holding on to me to undo his buckle, which I still can hear the rattle. And he took his penis out and he started to rub his penis while he had hold of me, looking at me. This was all done in front of the mirror, and he said to me, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to suck it. And he then gripped my hand and forced me to rub his penis up and down. And I kept saying like, no, and I just felt like so stupid. But at the same time, I think a massive part of me had shut down, because going through it all now, it makes no sense that I didn't run out of the room, and all I was able to do is just to say no and why, and him reassuring me and me believing him. He kept hold of me whilst I refused him, and forced me still to rub his penis until he came. He ejaculated all over the bathroom floor, and he then just stepped over it as though nothing happened.
Okay. All right, so following this incident, what was your contact with Harvey or the Weinstein company?
Pardon?
Following this, what was your communication with either, when's the next time you communicated with the company, and then eventually talk about Harvey, last time you saw him?
The last time I had seen, since that incident in 2014, I've probably seen Harvey like 3-4 times since then at his BAFTAs after party. But the last time I saw Harvey Weinstein was May 2016, because February 2016 at his BAFTAs again. He advised me that his assistant in the London office was on maternity leave, but she's going to sort everything out, and I need to relax. But at this point, I'd been mentally battered, but I still was holding on to some type of hope that, I don't know, I think it's a bit all crazy now, but I still had some type of hope that something was going to happen. And he reassured me that everything's going to be taken care of once she gets back. So then I contacted Vanessa, and I told her what Harvey said, and she then advised me that she'll contact Charlotte and get her to deal with everything, send an email over so Charlotte could organize my appointment with Tess, and if I needed any more lessons or whatever support I need, they would provide that for me. Still, nothing was happening, and I was in communication with Vanessa for weeks on end, and she seemed like she really cared about me, and she wanted to be there for me, but still nothing was happening. So in May, I was at the Majestics at the Cannes Film Festival 2016, and I saw Harvey sitting in the lobby with Charlotte and 2 other young girls. And I approached and I spoke with Charlotte. I said to Charlotte, have you not received Vanessa's email? She said, I've not received anything from Vanessa. And at this point, I was like, I thought, is this just a joke? And she said she's not received anything from Vanessa. And she said to me, I'm not working with Harvey anymore. I'm just here as his friend whilst he's sitting there. And he's just looking at me, and they're looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And he said, right, that's enough. Because it seemed as though he was worried in case I was gonna say. And I walked away. I got back to London and I contacted Vanessa and I told her everything which Harvey did to me. And I told her everything in the sense of like, he took advantage, he assaulted me, he forced me to do things with him that I wasn't comfortable with, and all these promises and how this has gone on for so many years, and it's like all the reassurance and it just made no sense. But and she was reassuring me, telling me that she's gonna organize the meeting herself personally. And she said to me that Harvey may have not realized the impact in which he had on my life, because I explained to her my therapy sessions and how much it's broken my trust in the industry, because I've looked up to Harvey as such a powerful influence. And for me, like, meeting him was, you know, like, he was like everything. Now I feel stupid to put so much trust in him, but that's what I thought at the time. And the reason why I said nothing for so long, because I thought if I ever wanted an opportunity in this industry, how could I ever, small me, to speak of this man, to say he has been inappropriate with me. People would look at me as, who the hell is this girl? To say this about this god or powerful influence who is able to make such amazing things take place. But so yeah, so she said to me I should write a letter to him, and she kept reassuring me that he's a good man and he's been so good to her, and I should put in a letter everything in which I feel, and she would ensure this letter gets to him. And it was at that point I thought, this man has so much walls built up around him, and I had no chance, and I just felt completely played. So I didn't write that letter because I felt like the show will, which I don't believe she passed on to him. Like the email she said she was going to send Charlotte to ensure Charlotte got in touch with me, she did not send to Charlotte. And this letter of closure in which she's asking me to provide, I felt again she was just saying whatever she needed to make me feel better. So I never thought I would ever be able to talk about this.
One of the things that struck me when I first spoke to Kadian was earlier this year, she had basically decided she was going to try to put this behind her, finally. It had controlled her life and caused her so much pain. And when she was speaking to me, she felt it was surreal that all of a sudden things have changed and there's this shift, and this powerful man now is vulnerable, and she's able to talk about it. And really because of the collective strength of these other brave women who've come forward, and Kadian also very brave in coming forward and telling a very personal story. It's very hard to do, and hopefully this will really be the beginning of healing, which is so important. Many women in these cases go through a state of what's called tonic immobility. It's a stress response, and they freeze up, and it's very difficult. And as much as people say, well, why didn't you run? Why didn't you scream? you are not able to, your brain doesn't let you do it. It's like an animal playing dead. It's not a conscious choice. It's a subconscious choice the brain makes for survival. And it's very hard. That's why women don't come forward, because they feel guilty. They feel ashamed. And so this is really difficult thing to do, to talk about. So we'll take questions now.
Did you get the sense when you told Vanessa everything that had happened to you, that she knew, that she was sort of aware of this happening?
I did, and that's why I didn't write the letter, because I felt played. I just felt she was just telling me whatever to just make me feel some type of comfort. But at this point, I just felt stupid.
Yes.
Are there any damages being sought, or is there any criminal charges that were filed, and if so, where?
So first, with regard to damages, yeah, I mean, the damages in this case will be psychological injury, pain and suffering. I mean, Katie went through a very dark time after this incident, and in 2014 became suicidal, and went through a lot. Has turned the corner and is healing, but there's a lot of destruction that takes place when these things happen. With regard to the criminal, we don't control that. She has reported it to the criminal authorities, and it's for them to decide what they're going to do with it. Well, she actually, she's reached out, has met with the New York criminal authorities.
With federal or?
Right now, NYPD, and she's cooperating with, we expect that there may be something further forward, and she's going to cooperate with the French authorities, going to cooperate with the British authorities, going to cooperate with the federal authorities. And so we'll see, but again, that's not something that she controls or I control. We just report it, and they do what they're going to do.
Is there any New York connection that the NYPD might have jurisdiction over that you know of?
Well, the only thing I'm aware of is that, this federal law that we're proceeding under, it's a criminal statute for which there is a civil remedy. And so, the point of the NYPD is that they'd be working with the federal authorities. I don't think, my understanding is there would not be sort of local jurisdiction.
I think there's a lawsuit also filed in London. Is it also filed by you, or is that a different person?
No.
Unrelated.
Okay, thank you.
Unrelated. Go ahead. Yes.
Can you explain the legal theory one more time? It's that he explicitly traveled to France to find a victim, which seems as compelling as and heartbreaking as the story is. He traveled to France to go to Cannes.
Right. No, that's not the theory. Okay. There is a law a federal law that talks about what you're discussing, which is when a U.S. citizen travels to a foreign country and sexually abuses a minor.
Right.
Okay. That's not this case. That's not the law we're proceeding under. The federal, so the federal jurisdiction is simply because he is a U.S. citizen. The theory of liability is that Harvey Weinstein enticed and coerced Kadian to come up to his hotel room with the promise of helping her with her career, and that once she was in the hotel room, he used force, he used coercion, he used fraud to get her to engage in a commercial sex act, which is defined as this quid pro quo. That's it. So it doesn't matter that what his intent was in traveling to France. The federal jurisdiction is simply because because Congress has given the U.S. courts federal jurisdiction over a U.S. citizen that engages in this activity in another country. And just to add, this same law could be used for any of these assaults that took place in the United States provided that there's some, what they call interstate commerce engaged, meaning that there is a crossing of state lines, or there's computers, or there's telephones used. I've seen a case where this law was used, and it was a domestic case in the United States, and they said that this pimp had bought his condoms in China, so therefore there was federal jurisdiction. And so, again, the benefit of this law is that it allows me to bring this case for Kadian here in the United States, and there's a 10-year statute of limitations.
What is the statute in France for sexual assault? In other words, why not pursue a criminal case with French authorities?
So we're not pursuing any criminal case at all. I mean, that's up for the authorities, and she'll report it in France as well. She will do that.
Why not pursue a criminal case? It sounds like he forcibly,
Well, I'm a civil lawyer. All she can do is report the crime. She becomes a witness and doesn't have the standing to pursue it. That's for the authorities to decide. She'll report it, and then they'll decide what they're going to do. In terms of filing a civil case in France, I'm not a lawyer there. I couldn't, and there's no need to.
Kadian, is that how you see Harvey Weinstein now? It's just some cheap sexual predator?
I feel it's very sad because I had, that vulnerability in the sense of innocence of the world, and having a dream and believing in something, and seeing him as someone who has been, I saw him as someone who gave something good to society, the movies and everything in which he's been a part of. But now he's conditioned the way I view the industry, and sadly, I know everyone is not like that, but it's made me, very ignorant towards a lot of people in the industry, feeling that that's all it's about, really. So I feel that's been unfair, definitely.
Kadian, a couple questions. How old were you at the time of the sexual assault?
I was 27.
27. And where do you live now, and have you left the industry, or are you still pursuing certain jobs?
I have taken time out because I was on such a high of just really believing that everything I wanted was going to be a reality. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I was hit by a car when I was 16, and I wasn't able to attend drama school, and I fell pregnant at a later point. So, and I have my daughter, and after I've tried to enter this world, and meeting Harvey was for me like everything, thinking this is an opportunity. So I everything in which I believed in, and believing that there's a second chance, like for me, he was that man. So yeah, I feel silly to say that I put so much into him, but I really believed in him. And I think that's why it probably hurted so much, because he was like everything.
Yes.
Kadian, what level of responsibility do you think people like Charlotte and Vanessa hold in this whole bigger picture of Weinstein, all these women that come forward?
I feel that they're not, I don't know if they're consciously going ahead with whatever he's carrying on with, but I think subconsciously it's there somewhere that they know. And and they pick up his pieces.
Mr. Herman, how much, in terms of compensation from the Weinstein Company, what are you looking for? I've seen quotes of in the millions. I just want to get a better idea of ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, there's no specific number that's asked for in these cases. Eventually, if it goes to trial, the jury will decide. And at that point, I will ask the jury for a number that I consider to be, I mean, obviously we think her damages are significant, and so we will be seeking, anytime someone's assaulted like this, the damages are well into the millions of dollars. There's no magic wand, all we can do in civil cases is sue for money. We can't undo what happened, and the money becomes almost symbolic as a measure of justice. So we'll proceed that way.
Kadian, you haven't had an opportunity to say anything to Harvey. What would you say to Harvey today?
I would say to him that he's creating, people believe in you. And it's not been fair that you've used the power, the gift that you have, you've turned it into such a corruption to take advantage of other people and to make promises to bring people's dreams to a reality. It's just not fair because you have no idea the impact you have on people's everyday life. Not only that individual in which you do the damage to, but everyone else who's linked to that person. And it's not okay to do that. You've completely misused the gift that you have to create magic in this world, to absolutely take advantage of people who also want to be able to make their own magic a reality.
Are you from the U.S.? Where are you from?
I am originally from the Caribbean. I was there up until I was 11, and I live in London now.
Okay. Any other questions before we wrap?
This
Yep.
is specific.
Yeah.
Can you tell, what's Charlotte's last name?
I don't know her last name.
And that phone call with Vanessa, was that the last time you spoke with her or anyone from the Weinstein Company?
Yeah, that was the last time I spoke with her, which was late last year or early this year, and I changed my mobile number after that because I I thought it was time to just let go because I had no chance. So for me, this here, I could have never imagined myself speaking out like this because I wouldn't want any type of exposure for speaking about something like this, but if I can be of assistance.
I'm curious, you mentioned that it's all these women who have come forward that have kind of given you the courage
Yes.
to come forward with your story. Is there any turning point in particular that you can recall? Any story in particular, any woman that you said, that's it, I'm ready now? Can you recall?
No, there wasn't any particular, but it was just, for me, it felt like a dream. Like, really, has this man been identified for what he's doing? And after weeks and weeks, a friend of mine found Mr. Herman, and through speaking with him, he gave me a freedom mentally to not feel as ashamed, which I still do. And for that, I'm grateful. I could have never imagined being here speaking of Harvey in this way. And for me, of course, money can be of assistance in my life, but it's not about that. It's more for me just the freedom of expressing and saying to him, like, what he's done. It just ruins people's lives. I do know men will be men, and that in the sense of really like getting into someone's head and using your power to change lives, to make someone feel that you're going to make their dreams a reality. And when that person like myself felt that it wasn't right for him to make me feel stupid, that I was overthinking his actions, and for me to live with that secret and feeling ashamed that I would have no chance against someone like him, I just felt it was very unfair. So I never thought this day would ever come, and I feel that if Harvey Weinstein being made an example, if he gets some type of punishment, then I hope, whether it's sex trafficking or just men in this industry, if it can just make this behavior less, then I'll be grateful. Because it really, it's mentally destroying.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.